I'm Dr. Daniel Amen, the author of The End of Mental Illness. I'm a physician, a psychiatrist, a brain imaging researcher. At Amen Clinics here, we've built the world's largest database of brain scans related to behavior, more than 160,000 on people from 121 countries. And what the images taught us is that most psychiatric issues are not mental health issues at all, but rather they are brain health issues that steal your mind. And this one idea changes everything. Get your brain right and your mind will follow. Being a psychiatrist for a very long time, I realized a long time ago that no one really wants to see a psychiatrist. No one wants to be labeled as defective or abnormal, but everybody wants a better brain. In The End of Mental Illness, I talk about, well, what if we reimagine mental health as brain health? And when you do that, you decrease stigma, you increase compliance, you increase compassion and forgiveness from families, plus it is more accurate. With a better brain always comes a better life. Help me end mental illness now. Hey, everybody. I am so excited you are with me. People from Australia and Montana and South Carolina and Canada, Texas. Wow. Unfortunately, you just have me tonight because Tana is off with our daughter, Chloe. Chloe's working. But we have a lot to go through. And I am just thrilled you're here. We're already getting stories of how this has changed people's lives. I got an email from Ruth Ellen, who has listened to a couple of our books, joined Brain Fit Life, and I just loved reading her email. And she said, this email is to shout from the top of the world that I found my reason that will go on my one-page miracle. I love my 30-something daughter, son-in-law, and my 3 grandkids. They eat terrible in the evil ruler's world. Love that. But they are adults, and I cannot tell them what to do. I'm telling you, I have that same problem. But I can lead by example. This is my reason. This is my hope that I will get better, and that will inspire good health in my kids. I believe that if I live the brain healthy life, then this has a chance to inspire my kids and maybe even my siblings, much like Dr. Amen and his father. Thank you from the bottom, top, and middle, love that, of my heart. Just being able to discuss the brain healthy life with my daughter, granddaughter, who's almost 11, and my sister has brought us closer together. This is an added bonus. So I am grateful. Make sure to leave testimonials. So now we've been at this 3 weeks. You've had 21 days of the End of Mental Illness Brain Health Revolution Challenge. And some of you I know are feeling better. We've had over 18,000 people watch session 1, almost 9,000 people with session 2, 7,000 people with last week, this week. We want more, so I want you to invite your friends. And today we're going to talk about food because there's a chapter I actually got just 2 days ago, the hard copy of The End of Mental Illness. So excited, so excited. And the book's doing really well on Amazon. It was #1 new release in post-traumatic stress disorder, also in emotional self-help. So please, if you haven't pre-ordered the book, go to endofmentalillness.com, download all the gifts we have for you, the 10-day brain boost. You can watch 6 of my public television shows. You'll get that download. There's also a 50% off coupon to BrainMD, our supplement company. And you might go, why does Dr. Amen have a supplement company? Because we want to provide the products, supplements, food like Brain Healthy Chocolate, the products and services, Amen Clinics, to have a better brain and a better life. All right, they're telling me I need to get to the slides. Step number 4. So this is week number 4. First, do no harm. Use the least toxic, most effective treatments. I don't want you to ever start something that will be hard to stop. This is why if you need pain medication for a procedure, you want to stop that as soon as you possibly can. You want to, switch over to Tylenol or Advil and get off the opiates as soon as you can. But most people don't know with psychiatric meds that when you start them, they're often hard to stop. And medications for whatever health challenge you have should never be the first and only thing you do. And I always want my patients thinking skills, not just pills. So tonight we're going to talk about nutrition and nutraceuticals, which are basically supplements that actually have a pharmaceutical effect on the brain. And it's just one of our great stories. Angie, who was actually doing Jenny Craig when she was 8 years old, so struggled with her weight from a very young age. She lacked focus and follow through, migraines, rosacea with his redness on her face, dizziness, ovarian cysts, digestive issues, brain fog. She said she was ruled by anxiety and depression. She also had problems with infertility. And a year later, Tana coached her. She said, "Thank you for changing my life. Your story inspired my journey. Your support throughout has kept me going." So she lost 103 pounds in 14 months, no digestive issues, no cysts. So who would have known? Better confidence, a clearer mind, no migraines, control over her mood. She's strong, not sick, and able to forgive her mother. Just such a powerful story. We want your stories. And stories are going to be what drives who wins the Brain Health Revolution Challenge. So I always like to start this section on food is if you had $1 million racehorse. So my uncle used to breed racehorses and race them. And then when he died, my dad did this. He said one of the most expensive ventures he'd ever been involved in. But if you had $1 million racehorse, would you ever feed it junk food? Only if you were an idiot. Think about that. You have this incredible animal that you want to really, it's an athlete. The animal is an athlete. Would you ever feed it junk food that increases inflammation, that increases brain fog? Like only if you were an idiot. But aren't you worth so much more? Before electric cars, I'd always ask my kiddo patients, I'd like, "Hey, what's your favorite car?" And they'd go like a Maserati or a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. I'm like, "Would you ever put salt in the gas tank?" And they go, "No." And I'm like, why? Well, that would hurt it. That would hurt something special I love. Well, then why would you ever put bad food in your body? Because you're worth way more. In fact, it's your brain that gets you to buy the Lamborghini or the Maserati or the Ferrari. So this is not about deprivation. It's about putting the fuel in your body to make it work right. Tan and I went to Northern California to plant brain health in one of the oldest drug treatment programs in California. And it is in Monterey, and so we decided to take a little vacation and go on 17-mile drive. It's near there, which is just stunningly beautiful. And I came along this sign that said, please don't feed the animals. Bread and snacks are unhealthy for squirrels, deer, and birds. And I wanted to write in, and people. Handouts can lead to malnutrition and starvation. These animals need their natural diets. Let them find their own food. And I was just like, it just struck me as odd that we feed our children like Happy Meals are not happy. They make you sad and overweight and inflamed. And we just need to be more thoughtful. So let's create some simple food rules. This is Chloe, who's working today. High quality calories. Calories matter, but it also matters the quality of those calories. So 400 calories from Twinkies or Oreos are not the same thing as a salmon salad. And so you want to watch your calories, because if you eat too much, you will become overweight. But more importantly than the amount matters. More importantly is the quality of your calories. And if you're overweight, you struggle with your weight, and I come from people that are fat, I just do. I keep my calories at about 1,800 a day. And when I start to gain a few pounds because I'm traveling or I'm not quite as conscious, I actually have an app on my phone. I just do it in the notes section, and I write down everything I eat, and I write the calories, and I weigh and measure things if I don't know what they are. So this is a study from the University of Wisconsin where they actually put rhesus monkeys on a calorie-restricted diet. So one group, the group on the left, got to eat anything they wanted. The other group, 30% less. None of the monkeys in the calorie-restricted group got cancer. They had a dramatically lower incidence of diabetes. None of them were obese. Calorie restriction is one of the few interventions that has actually been shown to prolong life. Now, there are ways to mimic calorie restriction, like intermittent fasting, going 12 to 16 hours between meals, and you're like, wow, that's got to be really hard. And it's like, no, it's not that hard. If you eat dinner, you finish dinner at 6 o'clock, means you don't eat till 10 o'clock the next morning. So not everybody should do calorie restriction. We're doing this program at the police department. You don't want to be at the end of a food cycle or a fasting cycle when you need to respond to a high stress incident, for example. And so you have to know when it's right for you. Calorie restriction, the most studied way to extend life. It works by controlling inflammation, helps with glucose control, really helps decrease aging. I want you to know how many calories a day you are putting in your body. So these are just some more of the benefits of it, and how you mimic calorie restriction: high quality food, herbs and spices, which we're going to talk about, exercise, intermittent fasting, stress reduction, like hypnosis, meditation. I wonder, and I'm watching this feed, how many of you use the hypnosis session I gave you for sleep and whether or not you found it helpful. Getting good sleep, making it a priority, and metformin, medication that helps balance blood sugar. There's a question on what is the best brain training exercise to grow the hippocampus the way the London cab drivers do. That is a great question. And I'm going to give you a secret. If you're exercising, like you're on a stationary bike or on a treadmill, learn something new. That's how they grow their brains, is they're exercising and learning at the same time. Scott, thank you for saying that. I used it and actually fell asleep all night. I love that. Find it very helpful. Wonderful. All right. Principle number 2, you need to water your brain. Unless you're morbidly obese, you should be drinking about half your weight in ounces. So I'm 150 pounds. That means I need 75, 80 ounces of water a day. Being hydrated improves your cognitive function, increases your strength. And you also want to stay away from things that dehydrate you, like caffeine, alcohol, and diuretics. And at BrainMD, we make something called Brain Boost on the Go. And it's sort of my form of Crystal Light. So Crystal Light has all sorts of bad ingredients in it, like artificial sweeteners and colors and nonsense. So I know I should drink water, but if I just had water in front of me, I really wouldn't drink it. I have a sweet tooth, and it's berry flavored, and it has B6, B12, folate, and theanine. And it tastes amazing. And if I get a little slump in the afternoon, it picks me up like 100% of the time. Brain Boost on the Go works for me. This is my friend Bill Phillips. He wrote Body for Life. He's a world famous bodybuilder. He came and we were studying healthy food. I looked at his brain. His first one was on the left, and his brain looked terrible. And I'm like, Bill, this is like cocaine or methamphetamines, or why does your brain look so bad? And he's like, no, I don't do any. And I found out the next day he had purposefully dehydrated himself for a photo shoot. Bodybuilders do that so they look ripped. So when you're looking in these magazines at these ripped bodybuilders, they don't really look like that. They look like that on the day of the photo shoot because they've taken Lasix, a diuretic, which is obviously not good for your brain. The next day, with good hydration, he actually had a much healthier brain. You never want to be dehydrated. Principle number 3, high quality protein. Protein, we think of it like medicine. It provides the building blocks to many of the neurotransmitters in your brain. I am not a fan of low protein diets. Now, don't go too crazy, but about 3 or 4 times a day, protein about the size of your palm. So if you're bigger, you can have more. If you're smaller, that means less of clean protein, hormone and antibiotic free, free range, grass fed if you can afford it. Fish is awesome because of the omega-3s. Lamb can be helpful. Some people don't like the taste of lamb. I grew up with lamb, being Lebanese, so I love it. They even fed us raw lamb. Turkey, chicken, beans for some people are sensitive to it, raw nuts, and some vegetables like spinach and broccoli are actually pretty high in protein. So know your calories, water your brain, clean protein, and does fish make you smarter? Well, my friend Cyrus Raji published this study in 2011. He asked about fish consumption. He did MRI studies and cognitive testing 10 years later. People who ate baked fish at least once a week, they had greater amounts of gray matter in 3 areas of their brain. Their hippocampus, we've talked about that. Remember, the seahorse produces 700 baby seahorses every day. The posterior cingulate, which is involved in visual memory integration, it's the first area to die in Alzheimer's disease. And in part of their prefrontal cortex, focus, forethought, judgment, impulse control, and they perform better on tests. Fish, once a week, at least once a week, 5 times. Think about that. 5 times less risk of Alzheimer's disease or mild cognitive impairment. Healthy fats. Low-fat diets are bad for the brain. Let me show you why. Now, of course, I want you to eliminate bad fats like trans fats and focus on healthy fats, especially omega-3s, salmon, avocados, walnuts, green leafy vegetables. High cholesterol is not good for your brain, but low cholesterol is bad for your brain. Under 160 total cholesterol is associated with homicide, suicide, depression, and death from all causes. So I just said that. Also, antisocial personality disorder, violence, suicide, conduct disorder, and death from all causes. It's a fascinating study, actually a horrifying study from the Mayo Clinic that said people who have a healthy fat-based diet, so look at the pictures, have 42% less risk of Alzheimer's disease. Are you getting the theme here? People have a protein-based diet. So like the Atkins diet, 21% less risk of Alzheimer's disease. But people who have a simple carbohydrate-based diet, bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, fruit juice, sugar, have a 400% increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. It's the food that helps you feel good or makes you feel bad. Fiber. Fiber is so important. So before I get to the fiber, I want to talk about smart carbohydrates. So we talked about simple carbohydrates increasing your risk of Alzheimer's disease. I love TC. Haven't had any fast food since challenge. Oh my God, my energy has been so much better just drinking water. I love that. Okay, we talked about simple carbohydrates, bad for your brain. Bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, fruit juice, sugar. But carbohydrates are not bad. They're not the devil. They're essential to life. You just want to be smart with the carbohydrates, so we call them smart carbohydrates. Low glycemic, what that means is they don't raise your blood sugar, and they're high in fiber. So why fiber? It decreases ghrelin. What's ghrelin? Ghrelin's the hormone in your stomach produces. It says, I'm hungry. So fiber helps you feel fuller, faster, longer, slows the absorption of your food, reduces cholesterol, keeps your digestive tract moving, reduces high blood pressure. Notice some of these are risk factors for mental health problems, reduces the risk of cancer. And you want to get about 25 to 35 grams a day. And there is a linear correlation between the number of fruits and vegetables you eat a day up to 8. So if you eat 4 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, you're happier than those who have 2. If you have 6 or 8 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, you're happier than those people who have 4 or 6. On average, Americans eat 150 pounds of sugar a year. This is what 150 pounds looks like. So why do we celebrate birthdays, graduations, promotions, holidays by hurting ourselves and hurting other people? I just want you thinking about that is really an evil ruler strategy. There's a pleasure button in your brain, we've talked about it, called the nucleus accumbens. Your ventral tegmental area, VTA, and other areas of your brain produce dopamine. They push on your pleasure centers and you get happy. Researchers at Purdue University found that sugar may be as addictive as cocaine or morphine. So the researchers actually gave rats cocaine and they liked it. And then they gave them sugar and they liked it. And then they gave them a choice and more rats chose the sugar. Sugar has many different names. And so if you just look at these, whenever you're reading food labels, please read food labels. If you're a brain warrior, you have to read food labels. And if your state doesn't require labeling, like none of the gum now has what's actually in it. You have to go online and hunt for what's in it. Do you know what that means? Don't buy gum, because most of it now has artificial sweeteners in it that are not good for you. But just looking at all of these things like organic cane crystals, oh, well, that must be good for me because it's organic. No, it's poison without pesticides. So it's poison without poison. There's a question on what about diabetics? We are told not to eat bread, rice, potatoes, and pasta, right? Because they increase your diabetes. What solution do you have for us? Eat like I'm telling you. Smart calories, drink your water, healthy protein, healthy fat, complex carbohydrates like vegetables, and low glycemic fruit. And the evil ruler will tell you something's healthy when in fact it's not healthy at all. So I just went and got a power bar. People think of it as healthy. It's called maltodol, which will give you gas, natural flavor, which often means MSG, which is bad for you. It's got oligofructose, which is sugar, fructose, which is sugar, cane invert syrup, which is sugar, canola oils. There's a question on why is that bad for you, because it increases inflammation in your body. It's an omega-6 fatty acid. So when it says healthy, please read the label. Sugar is not your friend. It is pure calories. It's got no vitamins, minerals, or protein, just carbohydrates. It's void of minerals needed for enzymes. It can cause a chromium and copper deficiency. It interferes with calcium and magnesium. We'll talk about that. It increases inflammation. So we should just put a circle around that. It increases erratic brain cell firing and has been implicated in aggression. And it delays healing. And that's why I get really weirded out with Gatorade on the sidelines of football games, is you have a concussion and now they're going to give you Gatorade, which is sugar water with artificial dyes. One of our best blogs ever was on red dye number 40 and how it can cause behavior problems in some people. And I talk about a case where that in fact was the case. But yet you're giving this stuff to yourself or your children and you're not thinking This program is about thinking. I've cut my sugar way back and since the challenge, and I feel my thinking is clearer. Thanks, James, for saying that. Is there a meal plan to help us get started? You bet. There's a whole chapter in the end of mental illness called Food Made Insanely Simple. And then, of course, you should get Tana's cookbook, The Brain Warrior's Way cookbook. She says it's her best cookbook by far. Sugar has been associated with ADHD and hyperactivity, increases the bad forms of cholesterol, feeds cancer cells, increases slow waves, depression, and it makes you dumb, alters learning and memory. But in one study, adding omega-3 fatty acids to sugar actually helped minimize the damage. I'd just say take the omega-3s, kill the sugar. On our podcast, I interviewed Dr. Robert Lustig. He has this great YouTube video. It's got 8 or 9 million views called Sugar, the Bitter Truth. And he actually argues that it's addictive. It is the primary cause of obesity, hypertension, heart disease, cholesterol problems, and diabetes. And that fructose in particular from fruit juice. You watch this video, you will never drink fruit juice again, I promise you. And sugar is hidden in all sorts of things, like fast food grilled chicken. I went on McDonald's website and I just looked at the ingredients for their grilled chicken salad, and it had sugar in the grilled chicken, which was just horrifying to me. And bread. I challenge you, go to the grocery store and just read the food labels on bread. So bread all by itself without sugar turns to sugar in your mouth. Bread turns to sugar in your mouth if you chew it long enough, because your mouth has an enzyme called amylase, which breaks down the carbohydrates basically to sugar. So you chew a piece of bread long enough, it turns sweet. All right. I don't have time to go over this, but these are the top 20 carbohydrates in the United States. Are any of these good for you? Well, I think the banana and the apple. But besides that, no, these are all weapons of mass destruction. And they make you fat and unhappy. And we went over, although during the Super Bowl, some of my friends were watching football. I was playing with our database. And what I did, because there was a Super Bowl party that I knew about nearby, and I just went over to say hi, and nothing but terrible food. So it just gave me the idea. I went and looked at our database. I looked at 20,000 patients, and I put in each area of their brain and their weight. Normal weight, overweight, obese, morbidly obese. There was a linear correlation, 20,000 people. As their weight went up, every area of their brain went down, which should scare the fat off everyone. Now, high blood sugar is bad because it erodes your blood vessels and damages your brain, but low blood sugar can also be bad. If you have any of these symptoms, and I think I told you last week, I'm in Justin Bieber's new docuseries, Seasons, and I'm in episode 5, and some of the later ones. And when he first came to see me, he'd gotten into all sorts of trouble. I mean, yes, he had worldwide fame, but Justin also had worldwide shame. And I'm so proud of him, of the person that he has become. But I actually caught a very low blood sugar for him. I mean, it was super low. So one of the interventions to get him well is you need to eat 4, 5, 6 times a day. So he's actually somebody that should not do intermittent fasting. So if you have any of these symptoms, you don't want to go too long without eating, because the low blood sugar will cause you to do things perhaps you shouldn't. Sugar substitutes that I don't like: the blue packet, the pink packet, the yellow packet, and maltitol, because it gives a lot of people gas. But I'm a fan of stevia and erythritol. And erythritol is probably my favorite. Has no calories. If you have too much, it can be hard on your digestive system. But overall, it is my favorite. Number 6, eat from the rainbow. Put foods in your diet of many different colors, natural colors. This does not mean Skittles, because it boosts antioxidants. And again, a linear correlation between the number of fruits and vegetables you eat a day and your level of happiness. 7, cook with brain-healthy herbs and spices. We think of the spice cabinet as the medicine cabinet. Garlic and oregano boost blood flow to the brain. Saffron has antidepressant effects in our serotonin mood support. We have a saffron extract. We're coming out very soon with a new product called Happy Saffron that has saffron and curcumin. Because curcumin decreases inflammation, and also zinc, which helps the conversion of serotonin in your brain. Rosemary, thyme, and sage have been found to enhance memory. Ginger, cayenne pepper, black pepper boost your metabolism, and cinnamon can help your focus and also is a natural aphrodisiac for men. What about monk fruit? So I'm a fan of monk fruit as well. And I think Zevia is an alternative. But you have to be careful. Even with erythritol and stevia, the more you have, the more you're going to want. The next principle is get rid of toxic foods. So sugar and almost all and the artificial sweeteners we discussed, almost all processed food, gluten found in wheat, barley, and rye. Why gluten? There's a whole section on it in the book, because it increases leaky gut syndrome, which then will increase inflammation and cause pain and all sorts of problems. Dairy. I'm not a fan of dairy. I know there's a lot of questions about that. It's like, well, why aren't you a fan of dairy? I'm a fan of dairy if you are a baby cow. Not if you're a baby human. Why? Because most dairy is raised with antibiotics and hormones, which are not good for you. And I'm just, there's a lot of sensitivity. If you had a lot of ear infections when you were a child, one of the first interventions, rather than give you antibiotics, is get rid of the dairy. Soy and corn, because they're omega-6 fatty acids and can increase the incidence of inflammation in your body. And I know some of you are going, but what do I eat? And we have an exercise for you. I just need you to find 20 foods you love that love you back. That's going to be the theme for the things you do this week. Foods you love that love you back. Do you think a 40-day fast is a good idea to detox? Actually, I think you should be detoxifying the crappy food for the rest of your life. Drew Carey said it best, is that crappy food is not a reward, it is a punishment. The more you eat healthy, the healthier you're going to be and feel. You should check out food allergies. Here's some information on gluten. It can cause overall lower blood flow in the brain. For some people who have schizophrenia, a drastic reduction in symptoms can improve ADHD symptoms in a subset of patients. It's associated with coordination and cerebellar activity and has been associated with atrophy, shrinking of the hippocampus. So I'm just not a fan for people. Bread is my crack. gluten and casein, protein from milk, exposed to pepsin, one of the enzymes in your stomach, and hydrochloric acid, degrade gluten and casein exposed to pepsin and hydrochloric acid, go to polypeptides called exorphins. And these exorphins cross the blood-brain barrier and they bind to endorphin receptor sites in the brain. What does that mean? It works like heroin. You get a mild euphoria, and we can actually block that effect with the opiate blocker naltrexone. I want you to think about this. Bread and dairy get transformed in your stomach to exorphins. One's called a gluteoexorphin or a gluteomorphin, the other's a caseomorphins, that cross the blood-brain barrier that work on the heroin centers of your brain. And this just totally explained Christmas to me. My mom's a great cook. I love my mother. She's 88 years old. She's a little spitfire, and she's an awesome human being. And she's a great cook. And she didn't know any of this. She'd make pizza on Christmas Day, and I would have 8 slices. It was so good. I craved it. I wouldn't eat anything. And then I'd show up on Christmas, and I just couldn't stop. I was like her pizza addict. And then I realized that bread and cheese work on the heroin centers of my brain. And so I would actually eat before I would go over, just so I'd have a good blood sugar and I'd make a good decision. And then we want you to eat based on your type. So, and if you go to the Brain Health Assessment, hopefully all of you have as one of your tasks, go to Brain Health Assessment, know your brain type. We'll actually give you specific dietary recommendations for your brain type. So if you're the spontaneous person, high protein, lower, simple carbohydrate diet. But if you're a persistent person, you need more healthy carbs, smart carbs, or the low carbohydrate diet will actually make you mean. So check that out. Okay. I want to talk about supplements. Now, the theme of this is natural ways to heal the brain. We want you to use the least toxic, most effective treatments, not start something that will be hard to stop. And medication should never be the first and only thing you do. Think nutrition and skills, not just pills. But there are benefits to nutritional supplements. You never have to tell an insurance company you're taking them. Did you know if you take psychiatric drugs, it can affect your ability to get health insurance, long-term care insurance, disability insurance, even life insurance? Supplements are almost always less expensive. They're generally significantly fewer side effects, but not no side effects. That's why at BrainMD, we pick things that have the least amount of potential for trouble. That's why we don't make St. John's wort, for example, because even though it can work well as an antidepressant, it has problems. It can actually decrease the effectiveness of some medications, including birth control pills. It's like, oh, great, I was depressed. Now I'm not depressed, but I'm pregnant. Not a good idea. And they're very effective, often for mild to moderate problems, and they have more compliance because they have fewer side effects. But supplements can have the downside. They can be more expensive because they're usually not covered by insurance. Many people are not aware of potential side effects. There can be quality control and standardization issues, which is why I formed the BrainMD company. I want you to know in my drawer in my bathroom, I only have our supplements. Why? Because I know the quality, I know where they're made, how they're made, and I trust them. And what it says is in the bottle, as far as the ingredient, the active ingredients, it will be there on the day that the supplement expires. So quality matters. Another problem with supplements is most people's consultant is the teenage clerk at the health food store or the grocery store. And I'm like, no, I want to be your consultant on what you need. And in the end of mental illness, there's a whole chapter. It's called Mind Medicine versus Nutraceuticals. It's chapter 16. What does the science say? There are 286 scientific references just for that one chapter. In fact, I'm so proud of my publisher, Tyndale, because they let me put all of the references in the book. And there actually is 61 pages of scientific references in the book. This book is the best referenced work I have ever done. But just in the supplement chapter alone, there are 286. And I love that chapter in large part. So let me actually go to it. I put a table in here. And so I actually talk about scientific evidence. What gets A level scientific evidence, B level, C, which means it doesn't really work, D, we know it doesn't work, in fact, may hurt you, and F. And then I listed both A and B level scientific evidence for anxiety, stress, attention, mood, memory, psychotic symptoms, sleep, and addictions. And there are many things that have A-level scientific evidence. This is a very important slide. You might want to take a picture of this slide, because if you're on any of these medications, it causes nutrient deficiencies. A lot of people go, oh, you don't need a multiple vitamin if you eat right. Who eats right? 90% of the population is low in omega-3 fatty acids. 90% of the population does not have 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. I eat really well and I take a multiple vitamin every day. Neurovite Plus is, I would argue, the best brain-directed multiple vitamin on the planet. Why? Because I designed it with the science in mind. So if you're on any of these medications, like if you're on diabetes medication, you're probably deficient in B12 and CoQ10. If you're on hypertension medications, B6, CoQ10, magnesium, potassium, zinc are likely low. If you're taking statins, probably low in CoQ10. Your doctor should have told you to take CoQ10s, omega-3 fatty acids, and carnitine. Female hormones and oral contraceptives. Why do they increase your risk of depression 40%? Because they deplete things like folic acid, magnesium, B vitamins, vitamin C, zinc, selenium, CoQ10, serotonin, and tyrosine. So I recommend all of my patients take a multiple vitamin. All of them take omega-3 fatty acids. I did a study of 50 consecutive patients, Damon clinics here in Southern California. 49 of them had suboptimal levels of omega-3. All of you should know and optimize your vitamin D level. That was part of the important numbers. And then whatever issue is specific for you. And multiple vitamins, why? Because I said that. Most people don't eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. Omega-3s because, and I love this, my patients come back and said, my hairdresser said my hair was thicker and prettier than it's ever been since they started the omega-3s. Their nail person says, your nails are different, they're thicker, they're healthier. Why? It's the omega-3 has been found to help your heart, your skin, your eyes, your joints, and your brain. Plus it decreases cravings. And omega-3 power, I'm so proud of our omega-3. Why? 2 capsules, 3 grams of fish oil, 1,440 milligrams of EPA and DHA, the omega-3s that help your brain. So we do the omega-3 index on many of our patients. And these are my patients who just had terrible scores. We want that index to be 8% or above. And all of these are terrible. And then one of the people came to work in our marketing department who was taking 2 from a big box brand. These were from a Kirkland brand from Costco. And his omega-3 index was better than some, but clearly nowhere near optimal. And then we just had him take 2 of the omega-3 power, and that's his on the top left. It went from 5.56% to 8.37% in 2 months. And then mine is the bottom left one. And one of our patients who was taking 4 in Brain and Body Power Max was 12.5%. It was phenomenal. And as your omega-3 index goes up, heart disease goes down. So in order to take, and it's like, but it's more expensive. Well, not really when you consider you have to take 6 of one of the big box brands to equal 2 of omega-3 power. Vitamin D. Why? 2/3 of the U.S. are low in it. It's a universal risk factor. It's been associated with depression, Alzheimer's disease, MS, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, obesity. According to one study, it was responsible for 13% of all causes of death. It's associated with low brain volume. Well, that should scare the socks off anybody. Get your level measured and then optimize it. And your doctor will say normal is between 30 and 100. Do you want to be normal or do you want to be optimal? And so optimal, get more sun or take vitamin D3 if your levels are low. And there are a lot of great brands. We have one at BrainMD. I just want you to get your level healthy. Nutrient deficiencies. So this is why supplements are important. And this information comes from the CDC, that we're deficient as Americans in magnesium, choline, omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin C, D, and E, potassium, and iron. But you shouldn't just take iron. BrainMD has a brand new form of iron that easily absorbed and easy on your stomach, but you want to measure your iron. If it's low, if your ferritin levels, a measure of iron storage, is low, you absolutely want to take it. If it's high, you don't want to take it. That's why you have to measure it. You can't change what you do not measure. So again, for everyone, multiple vitamins, omega-3, measure and optimize vitamin D. And there is scientific evidence, I talk about it in the book, for magnesium, GABA, and theanine to calm anxiety, green tea, zinc, and rhodiola for focus, saffron, SAMe, curcumins, and omega-3 fatty acids for depression, ginkgo, phosphatidylserine, huperzine A for memory. And you know, one of my favorite parts of this chapter, Mind Meds versus Nutraceuticals, I take on depression, anxiety, ADHD, addictions, insomnia, and I go, what are the things to do before medication? So you've heard me say this, I'm not opposed to medication. I use medication. In the docuseries with Justin Bieber, medication was important for him. But we did the natural things first. And for a lot of people, that's all it takes. So if I had an anxiety disorder, I would first check your blood sugar, because if it's low like his is, he has to eat 4 or 5 times a day. Or if you're anemic, you have low red blood cells, it'll make you anxious. If you have high thyroid. So check and fix those things. Meditation and hypnosis, extraordinarily powerful. Slow, deep breathing. Whenever you're anxious, 3 seconds in, 6 out, helps to calm your anxiety level. Calming exercises like Tai Chi. Of course, you want to kill the ants, the automatic negative thoughts that steal your happiness. And supplements like magnesium, GABA, and theanine. And if you work through this program and you're still anxious, then we can talk about medications. If I was an evil ruler and I wanted to increase the incidence of mental illness in America, I would make diagnoses just based on symptoms without any biological data. I just think that's insane. I don't know what else to say. I would ignore natural treatments and use medications as first-line treatments for mood, anxiety, and temper issues in 10-minute office visits in a family practice doctor's office. I'm not a fan of psychiatric medications prescribed quickly, because once you start them, you may have a heck of a time stopping them. And I'd have insurance companies deny care for prevention and only pay money when people are sick. All right, so what are your tasks? So many questions to get to. Is SAMe okay to take with depression medicines? If you're not bipolar, SAMe can be helpful. But again, go take the brain health assessment. SAMe is really good for people who are type 4. It's really not that good for people who are type 6 or might have depression and have other types. Cognitive behavior therapy, huge fan. When I talk about ant therapy, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, task for the week. Download the A-level evidence supplement list. So I took that out of the book for you. I still want you to order the book. Day 2, walk like you are late for 45 minutes. I actually want you to do that 4 or 5 times every week. And if you can only walk a mile an hour when you're 80, you have a 90% chance you'll die before you're 90. But if you're 80 and you can walk at 3 miles an hour, a pace of 3 miles an hour, you have a 90% chance you're going to live till you're 90. That's why walk like you're late. But don't trip. Falls go to head injuries, which go to all sorts of problems. Day 3, we have a music download for you from BrainFit Life on Focus. It's beautiful. It was developed by my friend Barry Goldstein. 4 is download the Anxiety Natural Ways to Heal the Brain checklist. 5, download the Depression Natural Ways checklist. 6, don't drink any of your calories that day. And 7, we have a handout for you on the end of mental illness, food rules, and an elimination diet. If you're struggling with anxiety, depression, joint pain, skin breakouts, go on an elimination diet. Just do it for a month. I get more positive stories from the elimination diet than virtually anything else I do. Okay, couple of minutes for questions. I still have no real answer to omega-3 supplements. Too scared to try again. Omega-3s, high-quality fish oil takes out all of the fish protein. And our chief scientist said if you're allergic to fish, you can still take the fish oil. I mean, you may just want to take one and see how you react, but I've never had anyone tell me they had an allergic reaction to it. Questions. I'm a big believer in tech timeouts. Often give myself up to a whole day without tech. Bless you. How can I get my kids, 18 and 15, to understand the benefits of the practice? You need to live it. Sounds like you are. And then tell them how technology companies purposefully create addictive gadgets to steal mind share, and there's a higher increase of depression, suicide, and obesity in people who get addicted to their gadgets. Speaking of evil ruler, have you studied red dye? I have. And as I mentioned, that was actually one of our best blogs ever, that red dye can actually cause an explosion of increased activity in the brain, making people more irritable. How do you feel about CBD? And I think we mentioned this. I'm sort of on the fence. I want more research to be done. It's the Wild West. There's companies and clinics popping up everywhere. They're putting CBD into wine and restaurants. And I'm like, we need to be more careful. They go, oh, but CBD is not psychoactive. Nonsense. If you're telling you it works for social anxiety, it's totally psychoactive. And once you start it, will you be able to stop it? Sleep apnea. Is it bad for your brain? Husband refuses to wear the sleep apnea machine, the CPAP machine. You know, losing weight can help with it. But if you're not getting oxygen, just imagine this. If somebody strangles you, that'll make you anxious and upset. Your brain uses 20% of the oxygen in your body. When you have sleep apnea, you go into an oxygen debt state, and it's going to increase the risk of all sorts of physical and emotional problems. So try to share this with him, or in session 1, where I actually showed a scan of somebody who had sleep apnea. It's just a nightmare for you. And you want to make sure you get it treated. And I just continue to go back to the sleep doctor and work on all of the options. All right, I'm out of time. I'm so grateful that you're part of the brain health revolution. 2 more weeks, and then we're going to ask you to give us the best stories out of your time with us. And we got all sorts of prizes, from money, a free evaluation, supplements, our bright light therapy lamp. But what's the real goal? The real goal is to create a revolution in brain health. But I need brain warriors in order to do that. Thanks so much for being with us again.